Dishonorable Mention is brought to you by 813area.com. 813area.com is the place to go to see where to go and what to do in all of Hillsborough County. Whether it's the best events, the newest restaurants, or where to be in Tampa Bay, 813 Area is your resource for everything happening around town. For the latest on where to be in 813, check out 813area.com. Dishonorable Mention is now on social media. Follow us on Facebook, and we're at Dishonorable Pod on Twitter too. Next week, we'll start taking questions from Twitter because y'all have been an amazing part of this. Thank you.
The nation heads towards a huge conflict in 2020 over abortion rights. There's guns in Publix and Vineyard vines in Target. Welcome to another episode of Dishonorable Mention. I am Ernest Hooper, columnist for the Tampa Bay Times, and as always, I am joined by communications specialist Carla Mastracchio, community activist Becca Teeter, and state representative Chris Latvala. Say good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Becca, let's talk about the abortion issue. We have seen multiple states pass some of the most restrictive abortion laws since this became a controversy post Roe v. Wade. Alabama, Missouri, Louisiana. How's this all going to play out, and why are we seeing this now?
Well, I think we're seeing it now because there's optimism among conservatives, certain conservative groups, that the structure of the Supreme Court will overturn Roe v. Wade. That being said, I find these egregious attacks on women and children, especially survivors of rape and incest, to be, not only do I find it to be morally wrong that your platform is literally that you care about life, that you're attacking individuals who may have experienced extreme trauma. But even more so, I think we have such grave issues in our country. I think this is political pandering at its finest and an attempt to divide a nation.
That was beautiful.
Thank
you. That was very well said. Thank you.
Yeah, AOC, your favorite liberal congresswoman, Chris, said that this is not just about abortion rights, but it's also about trying to implement or curb sexual activity and trying to get the nation to adhere to some religious standard that's been set by certain sects of the Christian faith. It's not anti-abortion, according to her, and she tweeted about it, is about trying to limit and impose, that's the word I'm looking for, impose certain Christian sex standard regarding sex outside of marriage.
Okay, so she's not the first person to ever say that. I hate when people, and no offense, I hate when people
I'm offended.
Kind of attribute, like,
just trying to add to the conversation.
She said this and she said that. Like, look, lady, listen. Like, you went to one cultural studies class in college. I get it. You learned something. You want to apply it to your job. Totally. But you're not the first person to ever say that. We cultural studies people who have been looking at the abortion fight for years have been saying that for literally decades. So she doesn't get to appropriate that. I find that offensive.
And don't we think it's ridiculous that all this conversation about reproductive rights are solely the responsibility of women? I mean, you cannot get pregnant without the genetic material of a man, right? So I mean, like, if I got pregnant by the grace of God and a miracle at the age of 40,
we wouldn't be here.
Right.
No.
And Chip and I wanted to terminate the pregnancy. Should then Chip occupy the accompanying jail cell that they want to put people in prison for? Because I think it's that part to me is what also blows my mind, that only one gender is expected to bear the brunt of this moral brigade.
Is the governor of Alabama a man or a woman?
She's a woman, and she actually is a sorority sister of mine, which makes me want to mail my badge into Alpha Gamma Delta in Indianapolis.
She's an AGD? Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although when I got to look at her, I'm thinking she might not live long enough to make it through the ruling.
What kind of impact is this going to have on the 2020 elections? Chris, are the Republicans making a mistake by going so far in trying to restrict abortions? Could this blow back on them in 2020?
I think abortion is very much a 50-50 issue. I think if you take polls nationwide, even people that are pro-choice will oftentimes will say, well, I'm pro-life, and, but, and then the but is, their pro-choice position. So, I'm convinced that it's a 50-50 issue, and especially when you get into more late-term abortions, I think it's flipped where the vast majority of Americans are against a late-term abortion, especially as you get technology to be able to see the baby, in a monitor and see the formation that's going on.
Assuming you have health care. Healthcare is a factor in that. Actually, 76% of Americans, as a current study, believe that we should uphold Roe v. Wade. Now, looking at it piece by piece, trimester by trimester, I'm sure you're absolutely right. I think you'd find very little support for late-term abortions, especially unless it's a life-saving measure or something like that. Sometimes there are some stipulations, but I don't disagree with you on that. But the statistic is 76% of Americans currently believe Roe v. Wade should be upheld.
Is that going to prompt people to go to the poll and vote against Republicans?
Well, I sure as heck hope so. If it means Donald Trump's not reelected, then
but my question is, will it be a deciding issue?
The last election in 2016, one of the central themes was the Supreme Court justices, because the next president was going to be able to nominate a couple Supreme Court justices, and you saw what happened with that. And chose.
I don't know if we want to replay the whole 2016 election, but I'm not sure.
But that was a central theme to
it was a central theme.
Chris is correct.
But I don't think Democrats took Donald Trump seriously. I think a lot of them stayed at home. I think a lot of them voted for Bernie. I think a lot of people, and I think Hillary Clinton ran a poor campaign. I don't think you can look at the results of the 2016 election
one thing.
and conclude that Americans are for more restrictive abortion rights, and that's why Donald Trump won.
And
I don't think you can conclude
that had questions about Donald Trump. I think when he made the court a big part of his campaign, when he released names of people that he would consider as judges, when he talked about what his qualifications were going to be to look at judges, I think a lot of the more conservative right wing that had questions about him really coalesced because of the court issue.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm going to go on record here, and I'll say it twice because people won't believe I'm saying it. I do believe Chris is right about that. And once again, I'm going to repeat, I do believe Chris is right. That's
like the 87th time you said that.
Coming up later, Becca will be apologizing to other elected officials.
Well, I'm sure I'll point out when I think he's wrong. But my issue is that I think the problem is peers, Carlinized peers, is that our peers don't vote on these issues because they don't readily apply to us in our daily lives. And I think that a lot of times I have friends who I supported through unwanted pregnancies in college who will be the first to not vote, or who will be the first to not care about this issue anymore because it's not real in their lives. And so I do think that there is a large contingency of middle America that thinks, well, it doesn't directly affect me today.
Well, there's that, but there's also, and I'm going to put my professor hat on. There's also the idea of when you're talking about Supreme Court justices, you can see them, you can touch them. Abortion is like this amorphous concept. So it's easy to kind of personify things within people. So it's easy to have conversations around people versus concepts. People get people out to the polls. Concepts, it's a little loosey-goosey. So I don't know how much the abortion issue will translate to the election, partly because it's so far away and we know how kind of amorphous and fickle things are. So what's really hot today might not be hot in, when we're ready to vote. I can't even think of the year right now. I've only had one cup of coffee.
2020.
I know. Thank you. But I mean, I'm not sure it will translate then. It depends on a lot of things like the economy. It's going to depend on foreign policy. It's going to depend on what is going on with people in their own communities. So I'm not ready to say it's going to be a huge issue because I don't know yet. And I don't think we should know.
And it'll depend on when it goes before the Supreme Court. And it may not happen until after the presidential election. I mean, these laws take time to go through the appellate courts and before they reach the Supreme Court. But that's clearly the objective of these states that have passed these new laws.
I would just say, and granted, I have a very unique vantage point, but I have looked in the eyes of rape survivors and incest survivors. And I don't think anyone who has done the work that I do could support something like this. I don't think that your humanity would allow it. When I read comments from people who say, but while maybe what you experience is tragic, this is a gift from God, that is not your decision. That is not okay. And it is the fact that we have laws being written in Alabama, for example, to criminalize somebody who wants to at least add a punctuation point to a horrific moment in someone's life, to be more highly criminalized than the person who assaulted somebody, raped somebody. We have spun off our axis and our moral compass is wrong.
That's incredible.
That was beautiful, Becca.
Poignant way to put it. They are criminalizing the act of performing an abortion. More so, the penalty in Alabama, the penalty would be greater than rape or incest. That's a kind of stunning development here in the United States, and it's going to be really, really interesting to see how all of this plays out. It's an incredibly complicated issue. It has been politicized wrongly, I believe, and we'll just have to see what kind of role it plays in the 2020 elections, not just in the presidential election, but down the ballot also. All right, let's try to transition to something a little less serious, but
it's very serious. I want to talk about this. I've been so upset.
But no less alarming. We have seen, at least in 2 instances, people get guns accidentally fired in Publix grocery stores. One that struck a man, and what is going on about guns in Publix? Becca, you have a theory about guns in Publix.
This is my new, I yelled at Chris about this, which I'd like to thank Chris. He was so wonderful and supportive, came out to my son's baseball game the other night. Yay, Rangers. They were victorious, champions.
I almost yelled at the other coach one time, and then I realized where I was at, so I held my tongue.
He was very well behaved and wonderful. So I have this theory that, a summer ago, we had all these folks lying in Publix aisles, Publix is a gunslinger.
Our friend Anna Escamani, who was on the podcast.
Yes, I love her. And so we had all this anti-Publix, gun rhetoric, and all these guns start going off in Publix. I almost believe, especially the most recent one, a police officer's gun goes off. And then we had one go off in a school. I almost feel like it's a subliminal conspiracy theory, a big, screw you to the legislature, guns aren't going to automatically go off. And so they're going off in all these very quintessential locations, which is basically to say, dear Florida legislature, you got it wrong.
Yeah, your theory is way off, because look at the number of people that carry guns in Florida and the number of people that carry guns in public.
But they
I
keep
just feel
going
bad
off
for
in
Publix, man. I
it's
feel so
the
bad
law
for them.
of averages. Well, Publix is like,
why not Walmart?
Your public affairs office must be going crazy right now. I feel so bad for them. If you're listening,
Has
I
there
feel bad
been
for
a
you.
shooting at Walmart?
Hello, Brian West.
No,
Oh, poor thing.
I don't believe
We
there
love you. You
has
should come on
been.
the show.
But I think it does go to further
Well,
reiterate.
this whole segment, we can pretty much forget about our free public subs.
seriously.
Well,
I'm not getting them
feel
anyway because my
Publix
husband doesn't
might
know what they
be-
are. So, you know,
Publix
whatever.
might be a victim here, but more than anything, I think this is a really great opportunity for y'all to go back next session and really look at your.
So what does that have to do with a law enforcement officer's gun accidentally going off?
It means-
what can the Florida legislature do about
Stop putting them in schools.
It means they
But
can't.
what
they-
the heck does that have? What the heck does a accidental shooting at Publix have to do with guns in schools?
It means
Becca?
that
How about
if
the
it goes off
accidental
in Publix,
shooting
then it's
in-
going to go off in a
Y'all
school
are making
or a mall.
completely no sense whatsoever. That's almost as much. Yeah,
No, we're not. We're making perfect sense because if you have a perfectly quote unquote qualified, which I would totally argue with individual, and they're in a grocery store, a public space, and their gun goes off, I don't have confidence that person can go into a school and be perfectly safe.
2 weeks ago, one went off in a Pasco County school. It ricocheted up against a wall in a cafeteria, and you still passed
and it
a
wasn't
guardian
a
bill.
teacher; it was a SRO's gun.
That's my
Oh,
point.
okay.
So with your
So we
theory,
expect more from teachers than we do
with
from
your
SROs.
Theory, with
Thank
your
you.
theory, Becca, should we get rid of all SROs in schools since one gun went off?
I think we should get better ones.
So
I
We
think
should
better
get rid of-
ones.
I think we should pay for social workers, not SROs.
So
I
I
think
have
we should do both. I
you're
think we should
saying-
have both.
so you're on the record for saying that we shouldn't have armed security in schools.
I would trade armed security for social workers, yes.
I would not.
Yeah, that is a ridiculous.
I think
statement.
we should have a combination of both. And I know, I mean, I want to say I know this because, but when I went to Plant High School that one day, I mean, I'm still mad about this damn wall thing they put up because it's this facade of security. And they're like, oh, there's only one way in and one way out. I sat in that advisor's office for like 20 minutes, didn't say anything to anybody. I could have been packing heat like there was nobody's business. I could have shot up the whole place. I piggybacked off a student. I walked in. I sat down. I'm like, there's no one questioning who I am. I had a nice dress on and I looked like I belonged there. So I just sat. And it's just, it's astounding to me how you can ruin the facade of one of our oldest and most beautiful public schools in the country. And you can put some gross wall around it. Like it's like Walmart. Sorry, Walmart, but it's true. And, you know, and then you say these things in the name of security, just like arming teachers. You're
Yeah,
doing this
I
as
agree.
performance of security.
A wall does nothing for security, nor should we have one on borders.
Just ask
either.
Afghanistan. All you have to do is ask Afghanistan. How do drugs get in and out of a country? You can have all the walls and border security you want, but opioids flow freely when you want to have them flow. Boom.
let me just
Drop
say,
the mic.
let me just say this.
That was mine. That was
I
my
think
phone
there are
dropping.
more people at Winn-Dixie with carrying concealed permits than Publix. Secondly,
So what are you trying to say about Winn-Dixie?
Although
grew
I
up
will
with the
say-
family
you
of Winn-Dixie.
know exactly what I'm trying
I
to
grew
say.
up
that
with
was
the
a
founder of Winn-Dixie's kids. They were very good
socioeconomic,
friends of mine. They're very
thing.
nice people.
I will say Winn-Dixie carries the largest selection of kosher
I
items.
thought Winn-Dixie went out of business.
No,
Are they still in
they
business?
didn't.
we have one right up the street in your district.
They had financial issues, but
I mean,
no.
they're the beef people. Of course, they have
They're
more
lovely.
people
No,
with
Food
guns.
Lion went out of business, I thought. They had their like
Food Line,
rancid
that's what I'm thinking.
crap.
Was Food Line. That's what I'm.
That was gross. Food Lion is disgusting. I would go on the record as saying that. That's so gross.
Yeah, and one of the biggest lines of kosher products is available at the Winn-Dixie in Hyde Park
Good for
in
Winn-Dixie.
Tampa.
I love our Winn-Dixie in Hyde Park.
It's actually really
It's
nice.
really nice, and they have like a little coffee shop, and people who don't have real jobs or like day traders, and they sit there and they'll do stuff with their laptops all day, and they'll sit there, they'll have lattes and gelato, and I mean it's nice.
No, it's nice. The other thing though is that I don't think we need more guns in schools. And you were talking about social workers, and there was a really interesting exchange between Governor Ron DeSantis and the Hillsborough County School Board member Karen Perez on Thursday. Casey DeSantis, the First Lady of Florida, was announcing a new initiative that's going to create more financing for mental health. But the money is going to agencies. And Karen Perez believes the money should be going to schools so schools can have more counselors and lend more counseling to students, that the access is greater. And it would be easier for a parent to get the kind of counseling they need for their student at school as opposed to trying to go through an agency or a private doctor. The most interesting thing about the whole topic, though, was DeSantis kind of snapped and went after her.
I thought that was awesome. She was
tacky.
she was completely inappropriate. I want to do that when I'm at an academic conference and someone's question is longer than my answer. I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, you don't get to make a speech.
She was giving a speech at a rally that he was having, and she was standing next to the press.
Thank you. Next, see ya.
Talking, and so I don't know if he necessarily knew that she was a school board member when he, said that he would take questions from the press, and she's standing there, raises her hand, and then gives a campaign speech.
You don't get to make a speech.
I don't
know. It was a campaign speech. I think she was trying to lend. I think she was trying to lend context to her question.
I think you don't get to lend context to your question if you're going on like some political diatribe. No, sit down, shut up, thank you, next. Like, this isn't your moment.
It was a bad look for the president. I mean, for the governor.
No,
it was a bad.
At all.
It was a bad. To me, it was a bad look for the governor, and it's the first misstep, in my opinion, that he's made since he became governor.
I don't think so at all. I was like, you tell her to shut up.
And especially when his wife was standing at the podium.
Yeah, no.
And the lady's trying to showboat and give a campaign.
I hate showboaters. They're so annoying.
All he had to do was allow her to ask the question, and that story would not have ended up on 1A. Instead, it ended up on 1A. It clouded what the First Lady of Florida was trying to promote. And I'm telling you, from a PR perspective, it was a misstep. There's no doubt in my mind about that. From a PR perspective,
it was fine. I think that you should tell somebody who's trying to take your spotlight and take your moment to take several seats.
I don't think she was trying to take her spot. I think she was just trying to make a point.
I would just like to take a moment.
If you know Karen Perez, you would know that. She's one of the most demure.
I don't know her.
She's one of the most demure elected officials probably in the state of Florida.
I don't know her either, and I would assume that Ron DeSantis didn't know who she was either, because wasn't she just elected this past year?
Yes. You allow her to finish her question, and the focus stays on where the governor and the first lady wanted to focus.
I think it sets a bad precedent.
To Karen Perez and others that mental health funding actually went up this year in the budget.
That's not the point. That's fine. That's not the point.
That wasn't the point. The point is, where should the dollars go? Should they go to agencies that deal in mental health, or should they go to schools to put more counselors in schools?
$75 million in mental health that's going to schools.
I don't think it's the point at all. I think it's like, this isn't your moment. This isn't your time.
I would just like to take
I don't think she was trying to make it her time.
I totally do. Oh, she totally was. Trust me.
Can I just take a brief aside and let all of our listeners know that we did not take major shots of Red Bull before we started recording, because we are on fire today.
I was in a really good mood until, Becca, you got me all riled up, and now I need another donut.
I can't wait to tell that to somebody. I'm sorry, you don't get to make a speech now. I'm gonna like saving it.
Yeah. No, I think Ron DeSantis did a wonderful job.
Just, it makes me so mad. Showboaters make me, and I see them at every academic conference, they're at every government conference, and they think just because they have the mic that they have, oh, here come the donuts, that they have this platform to say whatever they want.
I think donuts are the wrong call. I think we already have too much sugar energy going. All right, we agree to disagree on that. Normally, I'm in the majority on this podcast. Apparently, I'm in the minority.
One by one, I'm gonna cover each and every one of you.
And I didn't get any backing from Becca on that, so you left me hanging.
Well, I'm the manners one, so I'm like always about like that was rude.
I didn't see it, so I try not to comment on things that I didn't see. So I'm sure I support you. I just don't know. I have to
refrain. That's not very nice. What do you mean you're sure you support him? What about me? You don't support me? Like, geez.
Because she knows I'm right.
Oh, how does?
Because Hooper is usually really temperate and fair, and you run really hot or really cold. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, I'm a little up and down. I either really care or I don't care at all.
You know what? Yeah. I'm not going on the road trip with you now.
Wait, you like Gavin DeGraw? We'll play Gavin DeGraw the whole way. It'll be so fun.
Are we doing a podcast road trip again?
We could. Oh, we could record in the car.
We could record in the car.
Oh, that would be so fun. Gavin DeGraw Station on Pandora is my jam, man.
Like James Corden.
Did you see the other day when he was giving the national anthem and fell flat on his face on the ice?
Oh, he did fall. I saw. He stumbled. I felt bad. I did. I felt bad.
All right. You guys have to explain to me, what is Vineyard Vines? What is their new deal with Target? And why was it such a point of consternation for you and Becca today?
Well, Becca needs to come back because she went to the kitchen. So I'm going to wait till she comes back.
She was grabbing me a donut.
She was grabbing.
She's coming. Look, she's running.
She was a sandwich. No, well, so Vineyard Vines is a lifestyle brand. It's like mid-level price point, probably upper mid-level price point. They sell it at Dillard's.
Shirts, shorts,
so lucky
blouses.
there are no
What are we
weapons
talking
in my
about?
house.
Like casual to like brunch wear. So it started with this guy, these two guys up in the Cape, and they got seed money from their dad, and they started this company for like fishing and outdoor stuff, and it did really, really well. So it's one of the fastest growing brands in the country, aside from Lauren James. So and I actually know a lot about this, and I don't want to talk about why I know a lot about this, but it's a very good brand in terms of their reach and in terms of how much they do, like in terms of annual revenue and blah, blah, blah. And they did a collab with Target, as did Lily did about 5 or 6 years ago. Now, now I'm not mad at Vineyard Vines. I'm mad at Target, because when Lily collabed with Target about 5 or 6 years ago, they crashed the site and everyone was pissed and nobody could get any of their stuff. And you would think Target would learn from that and say, okay, we're going to like fix our distribution process so the site won't crash. And anyway,
Listen,
Did the site crash? Is that what happened?
No,
but everything was sold out in 2 seconds.
So I set my alarm for 12:01 a.m. today so I could have a first opportunity to make a purchase. And when I got there, was not available yet. So then at 7:01, when I went back, boom, everything I wanted was gone, except for like the paper goods, which were not nearly as exciting. I mean, I bought them because...
Becca, we should probably go back. I didn't say that they were doing a collaboration with Target and Vineyard Vines. Was doing a collaboration that was released today at 7 in the morning. I should have said that. I didn't. So I need to go back and say that.
I mean, so I don't know, did they release
What was
it at
it you
2
were hoping
a.m.?
to get?
So my kids have to wear uniforms next year, and part of that is specific colored polos. So they have the cutest little polos with the little whale logo on them, and they had them in every single color I needed. And you want to know how many are being shipped to my house right now? That's a big fat 0, because they were all gone. Cold
Why
as
don't we
ice.
leave here and go to the Target
There-
on
yeah,
Gulf
there's
to
a
Bay?
Target right down the street.
Yeah.
Also in Christopher's district.
You think they're in the store, or can you only get it online?
I
No,
mean, they
they're in
might
the
be in the
store,
store, but I mean, there's people have been hounding that place.
Yeah.
It is all the situation, but it is worth looking at. But seriously, you would think the most would be available online, and it was.
they have it
I
on
would think
Amazon?
Target would learn from the Lily debacle last year when people couldn't get stuff. They were really upset.
The Great Lily debacle
The
of
great
2018.
Lily Gate of 2015 or something. I don't know when it was. I
There's
forgot.
probably some on eBay already from...
Yeah, like $1
they
million.
can go jump in a river.
The one problem I have is that you seem to be consumed with online shopping, and online shopping is indirectly hurting the great Tampa Bay Times. We need people to go to your big box stores and continue retail shopping.
Why?
I'm
With
an
the
online
coupons
section of
you
the
get
newspaper.
from
Why
the
wouldn't? But
paper.
why? Okay, so I have a question for you.
Retail's going dead, and they're gonna and as they die, they're gonna stop advertising in the paper.
But
I have an online subscription.
Yeah, I have
am
an
online
online
across the
subscription
board.
to the
What more do you
Times,
want
too.
from
no,
me?
but I thought okay. So
Send me electronic coupons.
From little I know about
we do have electronic
digital
coupons.
marketing. I know a little bit about digital marketing. I thought that if you had like a Target ad for Vineyard Vines on the Tampa Bay Times website, if I click on that through the website, that's good for you. It doesn't matter if I actually go in the store.
No,
It matters about advertising dollars and clicks.
Well, as long as the retailer exists, that's fine. What we're seeing is retailers going out of business. Macy's is closed like more than 100 stores.
Yeah.
People aren't going to retail outlets anymore, and they're going out of business. And they're one of our primary advertisers. So there is a concern.
But see, that's a Macy's problem. That's not a paper problem.
Brick and mortar's going out of business.
Okay.
It's not good for the. It's
I
not
used
good
to
for the
spend a lot of
newspaper
money
industry.
at Macy's, and I would still spend money at Macy's. But the problem is the checkout process is too cumbersome. Too many steps. They want me to input some stuff. They don't have good partnerships with online, like Apple Pay and things like that. And if I have to go through and put in my address and scan my credit card, I'm out. I don't care how good the deal
That's why I
is.
go
Or we
to
could support
Ross
our
Dress
local
for less.
boutiques that have been great.
Which I do.
Which we do. Every time I go shopping, it's either I go to Vineyard Vines or I go to a local boutique. That's just how I spend my money.
Yeah, I either shop at a small local place or I buy everything online. But yeah, no, to me, it's the checkout process. The reason people love Amazon is because the ease of shopping. It's blink, blink, 2 clicks. It's for the idiot-proof shopper. And you
I
can
bought something and it didn't fit.
And you
So it's not idiot proof.
but
What'd
you
you
can ship
buy?
it right back. It's no biggie.
But wait, what did you buy?
They didn't put the label in.
You don't need a label. You have to request it, and then they send you one. You don't even do. They don't even do
know about
labels
that.
anymore. I can teach you how to affect. I've got about 6 things I need to
We
return
should
to
post
Amazon.
our Amazon hauls to either the show notes or to Twitter.
Yeah, now it's too late for me to send it back.
Although the worst thing I ever learned about with Amazon is there's a way you can download like your annual purchases into a spreadsheet. I will never do that. Number one, if Chip
Why?
found it, we'd file for divorce.
That's so
and number
fascinating.
two,
What do you buy?
it's just the amount. Think of how much money you probably
Chip is a
spend.
great guy.
He
though, so I
really
don't
is
think he would be
fabulous.
single
I
for
don't.
long.
Yeah,
Chris,
that was pretty funny.
it was really funny.
was good.
Chip is a great guy.
He could be my new wingman.
I want to see your spreadsheet so bad right now. I feel like it's a window into your life that I'm not privy to.
Oh, it's I mean,
Amazing.
it's nuts. So, okay, well, Target, where we're still rooting for you. Please don't disappoint us. Vineyard Vines forever. I had really big plans of my kids looking so cute in Target Vineyard Vines for Memorial Day. I just thought, what could be better?
I know I'm seeing pictures all over Instagram, and all these kids look so cute. I'm like, oh, sorry,
Freaking
Becca.
animals. I don't know what I'm most upset about. That might be.
That might be
maybe my
number one. Well, I thought it was tomorrow. So I thought I was actually going to go and get up early in the morning and then go to the Target on Gandy, wait in line like everybody else, go and get my little Vineyard Vines floaty, my, bathing suit, my cute dresses that Prika Chopka was wearing on Instagram. And then I was going to go to brunch, and then I was going to drive the 7 hours to Fayetteville. But that is obviously not going to happen because it came out today. So
I'm just impressed
sad
that we
about
went
that.
12 episodes or however long it's been without yelling at each other.
I didn't yell.
That all ended
just
today.
I'm just passionate, right? When a guy yells, like, oh, he's so passionate.
You were yelling.
He's so passionate.
I think we're all yelling, but I think we were all just a little jacked up today. So I think that is.
Get more coffee.
I feel like Vito needs to fix the levels now because I feel like he had it set for like NPR and we turned into WWE. If you're a fan of Dishonorable Mention, make sure to also check out Ralph the Lawyer podcast here on the 813 Area Podcast Network. Starring a second-generation Tampa attorney, Ralph Guido makes the law easy and accessible for people, as well as anything but boring. With a menagerie of guests and his staff, Ralph and friends talk about everything from employment issues for women to whether or not you should cooperate with the police during a DUI check. It starts about the law, but it's way more fun and interesting than a statute book. Subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever else you get your podcasts.
Oh, we were talking earlier, and I think this is interesting. So, growing up, what was your favorite TV show?
Boy Meets World. My first crush ever, 6th grade, was Topanga Lawrence.
Of course, a strong feminist role model. I'm not surprised.
And even like in the episodes where she was the weird girl, I saw the potential.
That's weird coming from an adult now. You realize that, right?
I think
Just so
her
you know.
actual name is Danielle Fishel.
She's
Yeah,
adorable.
Danielle Fishel.
And she is
She's adorable.
She is adorable.
I follow her on Instagram. She's great.
I think she's married now, though.
Yeah, she's married.
Chris carrying the torch for Topanga. Becca, your favorite show.
Okay, well, you guys argued with me about this earlier because I said my favorite show, the one that got me to the core, was My So-Called Life.
That's not-
And Carla said I was a teenager, so that doesn't count.
Yeah.
So I yield to the Wonder Years. Growing up in a progressive feminist household of 70s activists, it spoke my love language.
Wonder Years was good. I think I was already an adult when it premiered, but I'm a little older than you guys.
I was also a Saved by the Bell fan, too.
Oh,
Saved by
me
the Bell is
too.
good. I was going to say Saved by the Bell or California Dreams.
I love Saved by the
California
Bell.
Dreams, weren't they like a spinoff of...
Kind of. They took the same concept and they made it. It wasn't really a spinoff because I'm not
was
sure
that the
there
one
was.
that Screech was in, or was that like the
No.
new class? That was Saved by the Bell.
That was the new
class.
I've met Screech.
I have too. I sat next to him on an airplane. What happened with you? Was he weird?
We were
Have either
speaking
one
at
of
a
y'all ever been
conference.
in a video with Screech?
No.
Hopefully
Have you?
the answer is no.
Because he did some
What kind
adult
of video?
He
Oh.
did adult film.
Ew.
Did you
Yes.
miss that, Carla?
That's so gross. No. Well, how would I know that? That's so gross.
Hey, okay.
Screech has been up to a lot since Saved by the Bell.
He's
I wanna-
had a rough go.
He was
Not
a
a lot of it
angry.
is good either.
I want to get to y'all's favorite TV shows, but really quick with the Saved by the Bell segue, who do you think, which cast member were you most attracted to? Because I think it says a lot about somebody.
Like attracted how?
I mean, attraction. Like, who do you think was
Tiffany
the
Amber
hottest?
Thiessen.
I would say a combination between Mark Paul Gosselaar and Tiffany Amber Thiessen. Like, I kind of wanted to I like attributes of both of them.
So you like the classics? Okay.
Yeah. And I was Tiffany for Halloween one year when we did an 80s party. Or 90s party. I'm sorry, it was a 90s. It was like a Heroes of Television party. And we all dressed up as characters from the 90s. And I was Tiffany Thiessen.
Right on.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
I thought Lark Voorhees was.
Lark's the best, man.
I didn't love like her character and her obsession with fashion and makeup, but I thought she was really attractive.
She's
and
cute.
she also has run into some issues post
Really?
Saved by
Well,
the
she
Bell.
dated Martin Lawrence for a long time, right?
That I
is
didn't
breaking
know.
news.
Yeah, I
But
feel like she was with him.
she's had some mental health.
issues.
She's had some mental health
did she.
challenges, and
thing.
it's too bad. She did appear in a couple of movies, did a pretty good job, but it's tough out there.
I
man.
love
It's-
Elizabeth Berkley,
and it's,
though.
and it's tough making that transition from teen star
Not
to
long
to
ago, they all
adult.
had a picture together
Yeah, they did. I know.
with their spouses.
Yeah. And I love Elizabeth Berkley. I think that she's such an interesting person. Like, she just.
I think she made a bad professional choice
You
when
know
she did that
something?
movie.
Showgirl.
Showgirls. Okay, first of all, Showgirls is one of my favorite movies, and I have.
Oh my
no,
God.
And let's talk
Carla.
about this. Hold on,
Carla.
If you
Oh
there
my
is
God.
no, listen to this. So it has become, and I will say, I
No,
will,
if you pay Vito, he might edit
I
that
will.
out.
No. I have
the
a
best day
whole
of my life.
so. No, Showgirls is one of my favorite movies, and it is because
She said it again.
directors. Listen to me. Listen. There's a very reasoned academic argument for this. So Showgirls has become. There's an article in the Atlantic, and there's also been several articles on NPR, and I can find them and I will post them on how the cult classic. It's same thing with Scarface. It was like a flop in the theater, and it became this cult classic. There's a guy. He's a very gay man, and he is very. Flamboyant is probably not the best word, but he's very
Feminine?
he's a little flamboyant, and he has a job going around the country doing voiceover with Showgirls. So you'll do a public screening and he'll do the voiceover on the director's cut of the special 15th anniversary edition of Showgirls. You can play the movie with his analysis, and it is probably one of the funniest things you can buy. Money, you can't spend enough money to laugh this hard. He is so funny. And I dated a guy that had the 20th anniversary of Showgirls. He's like, no. He's a cultural studies professor. He was kind of a jerk, but whatever. And he was like, you have to watch this. It was probably one of the funniest things I have ever seen, because he takes you step by step of where the director could have gone the right direction, but they went the wrong direction. And every single choice is wrong.
So you like
wish there was a
Showgirls?
camera in here.
It's so bad that it's good.
But the way this guy takes you through with the commentary is one of the funniest things. And I have been wanting to get him to Tampa to do a live show at the Tampa Theater for 10 years. He is so funny, and he does live shows in Seattle all the time. And he basically says at every single point the director made a decision and it was the wrong decision. Out of 5 decisions that they could have made, he made the wrong one each time, and it is really funny.
Watch party, set it up.
We could totally do a watch party because it's hysterical.
So he made his own flop famous because he does his own riff tracks?
Well, this is a different guy. This is just
It's
a
not the
comedian.
guy who made the movie.
Yeah,
It's
no.
another guy.
He's just a comedian who loves Elizabeth Berkley. And it's just really, really funny. So I will post a link.
Oh my God, I felt so bad about the world, but
I will
feel so
post
much
a
better
link to
now.
his live show because he does them in Seattle all the time. And they are, I'm telling you, if you want to laugh really, really hard, harder than Becca's laughing now, you will watch the director's cut of Showgirls with this guy doing the commentary.
So all I can think about is the caffeine pills episode of Saved by the Bell.
I don't
I'm
know.
so excited.
Yeah, when she
I'm
kept-
so scared.
Oh my gosh, this is the greatest day of my life.
Okay,
was gonna say-
Before we move off of Saved by the Bell, little known trivia in the special beach resort line of episodes on Saved by the Bell.
Leah Remini.
Leo Caruso.
Leah Remini
Leah Remini was best.
was
She
on
was the
Saved
best.
by the Bell. So,
Yep.
next, does she still
So,
come to Clearwater?
I have
guess
a
she doesn't come
question.
to Clearwater anymore.
Do you know
but-
what her name was?
Yes, Nikki Chrissy something.
Carosi.
Carosi. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so what was the band with
Zack
Jesse?
Attack. Oh. The band with Jesse?
Yeah, where she was like, "I'm so scared." That-
Well, she was like the lead singer.
she was. What was the band's name?
I know who Violet Aaron Biggerstaff was.
I do too, but what was the name?
Something in the Spanos, or what
This
was
is the
it?
best thing that's ever happened in my life.
Hot Sundays.
Oh,
remember?
Yeah.
Hot Sundays.
I would just like to say I found Jessie to be the most attractive.
There were all
Feels-
kinds of
Yeah, she
famous
definitely
people
had the
that
best-
were in Saved by the Bell.
She definitely had the best
as-
body, though. I feel like
But
she was very dancer.
Zach
so
Morris
she-
all day. I can't get behind the mullet.
You know, Mario Lopez comes to Tampa all the time.
He does. I know. He's friends
Been
with a
there
lot of
for
people
New
we
Year's
know.
Eve, like twice. He's
He
been
doesn't do
Grand
it for me
Marshal.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was at
Gasparilla.
He was Grand Marshal at
Yeah.
Gasparilla.
Man.
You don't like AC Slater?
He's
I'm
friends
not
with
a,
people I
he-
know.
My
Not
best
really
friend
fans.
Kelly was her sweet love. I'm a purist. I wanted Zach to pick up that big phone and give me a jingle. Okay, so
That is probably the grossest thing you've ever said.
yes, no, it's
That
like
is the grossest,
the Zach Morris
the grossest
phone.
thing you've ever said.
The Zach Morris
The way you
phone.
said it was really gross.
Oh,
I
stop.
love showgirls. That would be the quote of the century, man.
I'm telling you, I'm going to find I either have it at home, 'cause I might have stolen it when we broke up, or I left it there. I forgot.
They
But I
need
will
to
find
call
the
this young
director's
man
cut.
and get it back.
Okay,
If
so
someone can get it in the Tampa Theater, if somebody can get that guy to do a showing, I swear to God, I would love to do the Q&A at the end. I would pay to do the Q&A.
well, I think we could be really
Did
building
Elizabeth
something here.
Berkley ever really do anything after
Yeah, she
that?
did. She did a lot of stuff. She did First Wives Club. She did a
I
bunch
just
of
wanted
episodes.
to get her back in the.
Why?
You're such a jerk.
He's such a.
For all of
Okay.
y'all.
We didn't even get a chance
Yeah,
to talk about
yeah,
my
what was
favorite
your,
TV show.
What was your favorite
I'm
TV
leaving.
show?
Well, I had many, but of course, one was The Love Boat, which I absolutely
Do you know the theme song of that?
love. Exciting and new.
Oh yeah.
Climb aboard. We're expecting you. No, you know what I love
Damn,
about
that was beautiful.
You know what I love about Love Boat? Here's what I love about Love Boat. So at the beginning of every episode of Love Boat, they would show the special guest stars. And if one of the special guest stars was a young, attractive black actress, then I knew Isaac was getting some that episode. And if there was no black actress among the list of guest stars, then we knew Isaac would not be getting lucky in that episode.
Did you have any other favorites?
And you know what, Ernest?
I love everything about Love Boat. I love Isaac. I
That's
love
why
Julie,
representation matters.
Doc.
Was Love Boat the one with the midget guy, the short guy?
No, that's Fantasy Island. Hervé Villachez.
Do we call them midgets or small people? I don't know what's correct.
Small people.
Okay. Man, this really.
No, I want to hear some of Ernest's other favorite TV shows.
He really sang that beautifully.
Yeah, he really-
that was
it really
that was a
was.
magical moment.
I was about to kick on the reverb.
Hey,
Yeah.
did Love Boat, was that during the Deneen days? Or?
Oh.
There's a rumor that Deneen and I used to get together and watch Love Boat episodes, but it's not true. It's not true at all.
Chris has been called the unloved boat for some of his vacations with friends of his.
Friends.
Care to elaborate, Chris?
No, that was
Yeah,
just
Chris.
from last episode whenever I talked about going on the cruise and the young lady I went on the cruise with
my
threatened
God.
to fly home from the Bahamas.
Oh my God.
That was
By the way,
that was a rough trip
By the
at
way,
seas.
that has happened on Love Boat episodes.
You know
People
what?
fly home from Acapulco.
If we ever
before
do
the
a,
cruise is
a
over.
contest, win a dream date
Oh yeah.
with.
Oh yeah.
and
Hold on. If we ever do a contest, win a dream date with Representative Chris Latvala, we'll have to include airfare home in case it's that bad.
in hindsight,
Okay, you redeemed yourself from your
and
weird,
in
creepy phone
hindsight,
comment.
I was very smart for not splurging and getting the room that had the bunks. because
need to
being in
cut
the
that
top
out. That's
bunk
really
when
gross.
she
I
was
don't
threatening
wanna-
to fly home was very advantageous.
That's gross.
You
We're cutting that
went
out.
on a romantic trip in the cheapest room with bunks as an adult.
I don't want to talk about this anymore. It's making me
It was
uncomfortable.
on a cruise.
Oh my God, Chris,
She didn't
stop.
need a balcony.
Just stop.
Okay, we are
Chris,
never.
Chris.
Hashtag we're never setting you up with anyone.
Chris.
you
He's
like
never
again.
dating any of my friends ever.
No.
That's
He needs
so
to
gross.
watch some Love Boat episodes. He doesn't understand how the cruise works, man.
Can we go back to
He
Showgirls
was
for like
in
5 seconds?
bunk beds on a romantic cruise.
Doc and Julie can show you how it works. Man.
My children sleep in bunk beds. I mean,
Yeah,
come
we're not
on.
doing. That's weird.
That's how cruises are. They have the bunk bed
No, they're
options.
not. There's nicer rooms that you can
Yeah.
pay for.
Yeah.
I went the cheaper route.
Okay, can we veto?
You took fiscally conservative to a whole new level.
But
Well,
he does that though.
the-
That's what he does. That's
The
his thing.
Florida legislature isn't exactly,
I'm sure
Congress.
there's some girl out there that's like, he's so fiscally conservative. Like, I'm sure there's someone out there for you.
Maybe.
Okay, so let's go back. Can we go back to Showgirls for 1 second? You can edit that back in. No, I found it. Okay.
The Showgirls episode.
No.
We all wave our time. for you,
Showgirl,
Carla.
like, so wait, no, Showgirls with live commentary from this guy named David Schmader. So he has live shows,
Can
and
you say his last name again,
Schmader.
please?
Schmader.
SCHMADER. And here, so I'm going to read you one thing.
Oh,
David
please.
Schmader contributes one of the best commentaries I've ever heard. In it, he continually bashes the film, the script, the actors, the concepts, even the jokes, and it's funny as hell. He truly makes this really bad film a horribly enjoyable mess, The San Francisco Gate. The Independent UK said, I laugh so hard my ribs still ache.
Yeah, that's like that show that I think it was on PBS, Mystery Science Theater.
That's
where
kind
they
of
would,
what he
where They
does.
would take
Yeah.
old sci-fi films and then give this comical commentary underneath.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I brought up the favorite TV shows thing. That is my greatest contribution to this podcast of all time.
Any other theme songs you wish to sing, Ernest?
Now, I think actually when I was really little, believe it or not, there was a show called Love American Style that was very funny.
Are you
And-
sure
and
that
they were-
wasn't on like an adult channel?
No.
Was that about the hot tub club?
The older people, man, I wish Judge Gross was here. He'd be with me on this. Love
Hey,
American
don't
Style.
take my dad's good name down to your smut films here.
Love American
Judge
Style
Gross was in a hot tub in his day.
Each
I know,
episode was a
bunk beds on a
series
cruise.
of
Good God.
vignettes with famous actors and actresses.
I'm very uncomfortable right now.
You know, this was 70s. It was very innocent.
I'm very
And-
Oh
and
yeah, the 70s are known for their innocence.
On TV, yes.
Oh my gosh, I bet if you rewatch
At the
this,
family hour.
I'm very uncomfortable right now. I really
oh
do
my
want to leave.
gosh, I don't even know which is worse.
We're gonna need a.
I want to feel
permin-
better about all of you. Can we hear our latest Florida man story so I can realize that we're not?
I don't think a Florida man story is going to help save
I
this
don't think
podcast.
no.
It is kind of with the theme.
That's
I will. It's from May 18th of 2017, I believe. It's in Putnam County.
I once fell in love with a girl in Putnam County,
Her name
but
Deneen?
continue on. No, we won't be saying her name, but continue on.
say my name.
I
say
have
my
some
name.
Putnam County roots too. My grandparents had a lake house there.
Well, that's nice.
Couple good spring breaks in high school.
Did they have bunk beds?
We had separate rooms.
It's cheaper.
He's the type of guy who takes you on a date to Cracker Barrel with a gift with
I was
like
gonna say
a
Red
coupon.
Lobster with the coupon, with the Groupon from Red
I do
Lobster.
not use coupons on dates.
Red Lobster's been doing some
back
great stuff
to
lately.
our story.
Yes, sir.
Florida man bit on tongue. So what do y'all think he was? I mean, we could play the what do y'all think bit him on the tongue game.
Gator.
Snake.
Elizabeth Berkley.
Would you like to venture a guess, Carla?
I am so uncomfortable right now.
A raccoon.
Possum.
Or a possum.
Possum.
No. Florida man bit on tongue by rattlesnake he tried to
Damn!
kiss.
I said snake and I deviated. What a
And of course, drinking was involved, but poor old Ron Reynolds tried to kiss a rattlesnake there and got bit on the tongue.
I think that's how I'm gonna die. I'm gonna try to pet
Well,
something I shouldn't.
I think the message there is if you don't have consent, you should not proceed. And I think that's been a clear theme throughout all of our stuff.
Thanks, Becca. Take us out.
Lots of consent. Man, he was rattling that.
That's disgusting. I mean, I can't.
We've had sex acts with animals on the past 2 episodes. I think we really have gone down a dark road.
We do live in Florida.
Speaking of animals, I think we need to have a moment of silence
Oh, we do.
at the passing of Grumpy Cat,
AKA tartar sauce.
aka Chris's doppelganger.
Tartar sauce. His name is tartar sauce.
Who's
Chris?
Grumpy Cat?
Grumpy Cat.
Get out. Just get out.
Do you not know who Grumpy Cat is?
I have no idea what y'all are talking about.
Perfect name for this. Hold on.
I'm really
Chris
glad about
is like the male. Sometimes when he, that's great.
How you expect to represent this state and you don't know who Grumpy Cat is?
Oh, so it is really a cat. Or,
Chris, all those times I call you Grumpy Cat, you don't know what I'm referencing? That's really hurtful.
Because you have that Grumpy Cat face.
He does have the Grumpy Cat face.
Well.
Probably because of years of spending time in bunk beds.
That's amazing. I have to say, this is the best episode we've ever had. I don't care what the viewers think. I was here.
This is the only episode I'm going to leave being pissed off at.
Why? Because we called you Grumpy Cat?
I call him Grumpy Cat like every week. No one says anything, and then you find out who it is, and all of a sudden you're
theories
upset.
about people shooting themselves that aren't anywhere close to being accurate.
Kind of like the legislation you pass.
I will say I'm always a little uncomfortable talking about Publix because I love Publix.
Everybody loves Publix. Publix,
Publix
is great.
is a
We
victim.
love Publix.
Publix is a victim in this story.
Publix is a victim all the time.
And let me say,
On campus, which is great coming home from work.
the spokesperson for Publix, Brian West. Brian, if you listening, man, I got your back, okay?
We love
As
you.
always.
Come on the show.
We should get Brian
We
West.
totally
You know
should.
what?
I said that
We
already.
should get Brian West on the show.
Okay,
He's a really good guy.
I
is
think
a really good
I
guy.
welcome him. Also, I do want to say I spent some great time last night with Representative Wingate Newton, and he really impressed me. He had some really interesting things to say. So I would like to go on the record of saying he was very interesting, very bright, and when I may have called him not a real Democrat on the last episode, I may have to retract my statement.
What you're
So would
saying
this
is-
be the second time in the same episode that Chris was right about?
This has nothing to do with Chris.
What she's saying is, Becca, drum roll.
I was wrong. He's a real Democrat, and I'm sorry.
Good job.
Speaking of favorite shows, on Happy Days, Fonzie could never say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. And you sounded very much like Henry Winkler in that moment.
That was before a couple of our times.
I do struggle with
Word
I'm
up,
sorry,
class
but
of
he is.
2000.
Oh, I'm 99.
Oh, I thought you were 2000.
No.
Oh, never mind. I take that back.
We did take a quiz this week in closing where we found out what our generation is. And it turns out, maybe even I'm most immature of us all, that I'm the only, quote, millennial by personality trait.
Yeah, Gen Xer all the way.
Maybe it's because I'm so positive and hopeful.
That probably is true. Yeah.
So, all right. Any last thoughts?
Rest in peace to Big Dog Steve Dumick.
Oh, I know.
Yes, rest in peace to Steve Dumick. Long time sports talk host here in Tampa Bay. Succumbed to brain cancer on Thursday. And he was very acerbic on air, always quick to snap at listeners who he didn't agree with. But off the air, he was actually a pretty good guy, had a big heart, and he'll be missed on the airways here. It'll be with all due respect to those who are on the air now, we haven't had someone come along who could command an audience like Steve Dumick could.
He was really great. I worked for him in 2000 and 2002, and he was great. So
Yeah. I'd like to give a couple of shout outs in closing. One, to the Master Chorale of Tampa Bay, celebrated its 40th anniversary on May 17th. I got the privilege of being the MC at their celebration at the Brian Glazer Family Jewish Community Center. It was terrific. They are dynamic singers. And if you get a chance to hear the Master Chorale, they have some performances coming up. June 7th at First Presbyterian in St. Petersburg, June 9th at church in Carrollwood, Lake Magdalene. Go out and give them a listen. They're actually all volunteers. They put in about 25,000 hours a year, and they do a great job. My other shout out is to the daughter of my friends Chandra and Irvin Lee. Karis Lee will graduate from West Point on May 25th, and she is part of the largest collection of African American female cadets to ever graduate from West Point. And so that's awesome. A tremendous accomplishment on her part. And that story's been making the rounds on the internet. They have some really cool pictures of all of these very proud African American women who are going to become officers. It's awesome. Carla, shout out.
Ooh, I'm going to shout out to Burns and Haven because I went to the Game of Thrones whiskey pairing on Thursday, and it was absolutely outstanding. So congratulations to that team because it was an 8-course dinner, and it wasn't easy to pull off, and it was awesome.
Did you eat dragon?
We had duck heart instead of the dragon. So that was a first course, and it was really outstanding. Like every single course was wonderful, and I was so excited to be there. So good job.
I've never seen a single episode of Game of Thrones.
You know, neither have I.
neither.
But the whiskeys that they released were just really rare and outstanding. And I live about 3 blocks from Haven, so we decided to go. But it was a great time.
I'll give my shout out just to preempt Becca from giving hers to her son's Little League team for winning their championship. 3-2. It was a very well played game.
She's blushing.
Very
My God,
well-played
she's
game by both
blushing.
teams. They had both teams had great defensive plays, diving catches, and so forth. It made me think of my glory days of sitting on the bench in Little League. Now they have a rule which I think is completely ridiculous that each kid has to like sit on the bench for an inning. Back when I was growing up, if you weren't good, you sat on the bench, and you either became better or you sat on the bench, and you were a pinch runner, a pinch hitter, or whatever. Nowadays, everyone has to play and everybody has to win, and that's just ridiculous because I turned out fine. My generation, for the most part, turned out fine by sitting on the bench and getting picked last.
The late Steve Dumick would say it was the wussification of America.
Well, I think y'all should take it up with the Little League of America rule book, of which, of all the things I want to fight for, that's not going on the list. My shout out is I had a remarkable experience last night on Friday evening. We were honoring the Supreme Court Justice Peggy Quince, a celebration of her legal and judicial career. It was hosted by the Florida Supreme Court Historical Society, and I saw so many incredible members of our community out there to lift up this amazing jurist back when the court was favorable to education. So it was a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I was very pleased and honored to be there.
And even in a shout out to Justice Quince, Becca zings the Republican conservatives of the state of Florida. And Chris remains silent. Very good, Chris. It's a
He's on his
remarkable
phones
discipline.
looking for deals.
I was on Tampa
He's
Bay.
on Groupon.
Looking for bunk bed deals.
We need to Photoshop a bunch of pictures of Chris in bunk beds. It's all over.
All right. That'll do it for another episode of Dishonorable Mention. You know where to find us. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time. Say goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.